You have money in your savings account right now. Maybe it's $2,000. Maybe it's 10,000. Maybe you've been grinding for years and you've finally got $20,000, $30,000 just sitting there. And every single month, you transfer a little more into it because that's what responsible adults do. You're doing everything right. You've got a budget. You track your spending. You said no to the vacation. You said no to the new car. You make your coffee at home. You meal prep on Sundays. And yet, something feels off. You're not broke, but you're not building wealth either. You're just treading water. Month after month. Year after year. Here's the thing. What if I told you that the savings account you're so proud of is actually one of the main reasons you're stuck? What if the habit that your parents drilled into you, the habit that every personal finance influencer tells you to build, is quietly, mathematically, making you poorer every single year? That's exactly what we're going to talk about today. My name is Jackson, and I spend way too much time thinking about why smart, hardworking people never seem to actually get ahead financially. If you're someone who does everything right with money, you save consistently, you avoid debt, you live below your means, but you still feel like real wealth is somehow always just out of reach, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because today, I want to completely reframe the way you think about saving money. Not because saving is bad, but because the way most people save and the story they've been told about saving is costing them hundreds of thousands of dollars over their lifetime. And almost nobody is talking about this clearly enough. Let's get into it. So, growing up, most of us got the same financial advice. Work hard, don't spend more than you earn, and save your money. Simple, practical, responsible. And look, I'm not here to tell you that saving is evil or that you should blow all your money on sneakers and vacations. That's not the point. The point is that saving money and building wealth are two completely different things. And somewhere along the way, we were convinced they were the same. They are not. Here's what most people don't realize. A savings account is not an investment. It is a parking spot. You put your money there, and it just sits. Meanwhile, everything around it gets more expensive. And that gap between what your savings account earns and what inflation costs you, that is the silent tax that nobody warns you about. Let me show you exactly what I mean. Okay, real numbers. Let's do this. The average savings account in the United States right now pays somewhere around 0.5% APY. That's the national average according to the FDIC. Some big banks, Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, are paying as low as 0.01%. 0.01. Now, inflation in the US has historically averaged about 3.3% per year. Even in the years where it calms down, you're looking at 2.5 to 3%. So let's say you have $10,000 in a traditional savings account. After 1 year, your bank gives you $50, maybe less. But inflation ate $330 worth of purchasing power from that same $10,000. You didn't lose money on paper. Your account still says $10,050. But in real terms, in terms of what that money can actually buy, you lost $280 that year. Now multiply that by 10 years. Your $10,000 grew to about $10,500 in the savings account. But that same $10,000 in real purchasing power, it's now worth closer to $7,200 in today's dollars. You saved for a decade, and you got poorer. This is not a theory. This is arithmetic. And this is where it gets really interesting, because most people know this on some level. They've heard about inflation. They know rates are low, but they keep saving the same way because it feels safe. That feeling of safety? That's the trap. Okay, so let's talk about why we do this. Because understanding the psychology here is just as important as the math. There's a concept in behavioral economics called loss aversion. And what it basically says is this: the pain of losing money feels about twice as powerful as the pleasure of gaining the same amount. In other words, losing $500 hurts you emotionally twice as much as gaining $500 feels good. So when you put money in a savings account, your brain is not thinking about returns. It's thinking about not losing. It's optimizing for the feeling of security, not for actual financial growth. And banks know this. This is not an accident. Big banks spend billions of dollars every single year on marketing that connects their savings products to words like safe, secure, protected, and peace of mind. Because they know that if they can tap into your loss aversion, you'll keep your money in a 0.01% account forever. Meanwhile, they take your deposited money and loan it out at 7, 8, 12, or 20% interest. You are literally funding their wealth building while yours stagnates. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but at least my savings account is guaranteed. The market can crash. I could lose everything. And I hear you. That's a real fear. But let me show you what that fear actually costs. Let's run the real comparison. And I want you to actually sit with these numbers for a second. We take two people, both 27 years old. Both are living in the US. Both make $65,000 a year. Both manage to set aside $500 a month. Person A, let's call him Marcus, puts that $500 every month into his savings account, earns 0.5% APY, does this for 30 years until he's 57. Person B, let's call her Diana, puts that same $500 every month into a simple S&P 500 index fund. The S&P 500 has returned an average of about 10.5% annually over the last 30 years. Same income, same discipline, same $500 a month. At age 57, Marcus has saved $180,000, and with his interest, he's got maybe $193,000. He sacrificed and saved for 30 years and has just under $200,000. Diana has $1,237,000. Over $1 million. Same money. At the same time. Completely different outcome. The only difference? Where the money was parked. That is the cost of playing it safe. That is what loss aversion actually costs you over a lifetime. Not the market crash you were afraid of, the opportunity you never took. And look, I know what some of you are thinking right now. But Jackson, the market can crash. What about 2008? What about 2020? Here's the thing. Yes, the market crashes. It crashed in 2008. It crashed in 2020. It'll crash again, I promise you that. But here's what else it does. It recovers. Every single time in US history, the S&P 500 has recovered from every crash and gone on to reach new all-time highs. The 2020 COVID crash, the most dramatic single-month drop in modern history, fully recovered in about 5 months. The people who panicked and moved to cash in March 2020 locked in their losses. The people who stayed didn't just recover. They nearly doubled their money within 18 months. Time in the market beats timing the market. Every time. All right, so we've established that the traditional savings account is quietly eroding your wealth. We've looked at the math. We've looked at the psychology. Now what? Here's the framework I actually believe in. 3 buckets. Simple, repeatable, effective. Bucket 1, your emergency fund. And only your emergency fund. You do need liquid savings. This is not negotiable. If your car breaks down, if you lose your job, if a medical bill shows up, you need cash you can access immediately without selling investments at a bad time. But here's where most people go wrong. They save way too much in this bucket. The rule is 3 to 6 months of living expenses. That's it. If your monthly expenses are $3,500, you need between $10,500 and $21,000 in liquid savings. Not $50,000. Not everything above that. Once your emergency fund is fully funded, every dollar above that threshold should be working harder for you. For this bucket, and this bucket only, I'd recommend a high-yield savings account. HYSAs from places like Marcus by Goldman Sachs, Ally, or SoFi are currently paying around 4.5 to 5% APY. That's 10 times better than traditional banks. Still liquid, still FDIC insured, but actually keeping pace with inflation. Bucket 2, tax-advantaged investing. Before you put money into a regular brokerage account, you want to max out your tax-advantaged accounts first. If your employer offers a 401k match, that is the closest thing to free money that exists in personal finance. If they match 4% and you're not contributing at least 4%, you are leaving part of your salary on the table. Full stop. After the match, look at a Roth IRA. In 2024, you can contribute up to $7,000 a year. The money goes in after tax, but it grows completely tax-free. You pay no capital gains tax, no income tax on withdrawals and retirement. Nothing. On that $500 a month example we ran earlier, if that's in a Roth IRA, Diana doesn't just end up with $1.2 million. She gets to keep all of it. Bucket 3, brokerage account. Once your emergency fund is set and your tax-advantaged accounts are maxed, a regular brokerage account is your next move. Keep it simple. Seriously, the research is overwhelming that actively managed funds rarely beat the market consistently over 20-plus year periods. A simple, low-cost S&P 500 index fund, like VO from Vanguard or SPY, is what the majority of professional investors can't beat. Warren Buffett himself has said that when he dies, he's instructed his estate to put 90% of the money into a low-cost S&P 500 index fund. If it's good enough for Warren Buffett's estate, it's probably good enough for us. Okay, here's what most people don't realize about actually building wealth long-term. It's not about discipline. It's not about willpower. It's not about being smarter or more motivated than everyone else. It's about removing the decision entirely. Every single month that you have to decide whether to invest, your brain has an opportunity to talk you out of it. Something comes up. You had a bad month. You want to take a trip. You rationalize waiting until next month. And next month becomes next year. And next year becomes a decade. The solution? Automate everything. Set up automatic transfers on payday. Not at the end of the month when you see what's left. On payday, before your brain even registers the money as available. This is called paying yourself first, and it's genuinely one of the highest leverage financial habits you can build. Not because it's complicated, because it removes the human element from the equation. The psychology here is powerful. What you never see in your checking account, you never miss. You adjust your lifestyle to what's left, not what's available. I automate my Roth IRA contribution on the 1st of every month. I automate my brokerage transfer on the 5th. My emergency fund is already funded, so that sits. And I live on what's left. No spreadsheet obsession. No willpower required. The system does the work. Look, I want to zoom out for a second. Because when we talk about savings accounts and index funds and Roth IRAs, it can start to feel abstract, like we're just shuffling numbers around. But what we're really talking about is freedom. The reason financial independence matters, the reason building real wealth matters, is that money is stored time. Every dollar you invest today is a day of your future that you're buying back. When you have $500,000 invested in the market, earning that historical average of 10%, that's $50,000 a year in passive returns. Without working, without a boss, without trading your hours for income. That's the number that changes everything. Not the fancy car, not the big house. The number in your investment account tells you to wake up and choose how to spend your day. And here's what gets me fired up about this. It is genuinely accessible to regular people. You don't need to be rich to start. You don't need to make $200,000 a year. You don't need to pick stocks or time the market or understand complex derivatives. You need $50 a month and an index fund and enough patience to leave it alone. The biggest wealth killer in America is not the stock market. It's not inflation. It's not even taxes. It's inaction. It's the person who keeps their money in a savings account because someday I'll figure out investing. Someday becomes never. And every month of delay on a $500 monthly investment costs you roughly $1,000 in lost future value. That's the real math. All right, let me bring this all together. The savings account isn't evil, but it's been sold to you as a wealth-building tool when it's actually just a holding pen, and a leaky one at that. Here's what we covered today. The average savings account pays 0.5%. Inflation runs at 2.5 to 3%. Every year your money sits in that account, you're losing purchasing power. Silently, without a single headline. Over 30 years, the difference between saving and investing the same $500 a month is the difference between $193,000 and $1.2 million. Same money, same discipline, completely different outcome. The psychology driving this, loss aversion, is real, and it is being exploited by financial institutions that profit directly from your fear. The solution is not complicated. 1. Build your emergency fund. 3 to 6 months. Put it in a high-yield savings account and leave it there. 2. Invest every dollar above that in tax-advantaged accounts first. 401k match, then Roth IRA. 3. Keep it simple. Low-cost index funds. Automate. Don't touch it. 4. Be patient. Compound interest is not exciting in year 1 or year 3. It is life-changing in year 15 and year 25. That's the whole game. You don't need to be a finance expert. You don't need to watch CNBC every morning. You don't need to pick the next winning stock. You just need to stop letting fear keep your money in a parking lot and start putting it to work. If this video gave you a new way of thinking about your money, please hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people who need to hear this. Subscribe if you want more of this kind of breakdown. And drop a comment below. I want to know how much you currently have sitting in a traditional savings account. No judgment. Let's just get real about where we're starting from. I'll see you in the next one.